everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. 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 Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything.
Good morning, Rooted Men. Happy and blessed Thursday morning. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Church. Great to have all of you on board. It's cloudy today. I hope we see some sun. I mean, when you're at zero temperature or single digits, at least we could have sun, right? I hope we get some sun today. But either way, we get the sun, the Father's Son, and that's wonderful. Let's say hi to a few people, and we're going to finish chapter 6 of Joshua as they have defeated Jericho and they are protecting the spies are protecting the one who protected them. And we'll get to that in just a second. Steve Giroux, good morning. Brian Flaming, good morning. Chuck B, shalom, gentlemen. God is so good. Amen to that. Chris Connolly, good morning. Bert Reggiani, good morning. Ken Gooch, good morning, fellow brothers in arms. And quite a few other people on board. Feel free to say hi on Facebook, YouTube, or X. But great to have you. I'm going to pull up the text, and you should be able to see it. I made the print as large as I could. And I'm going to start at verse 20. Remember, they went around Jericho for the first 6 days one time, silently. Soldiers going before, the people going, the right in the center, you had the priest and the Ark of the Covenant, and they're going around this walled city, this fortress, silently. And then on the seventh day, they went around it 7 times, and on the seventh day, or the seventh time around, they shouted, they screamed, they yelled, they blew their trumpets, and God caused those walls to crumble, and Israel has its first victory. So the people shouted, and the trumpets were blown. As soon as the people heard the sound of the trumpet, the people shouted a great shout, and the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they captured the city. Then they devoted all in the city to destruction, both men, women, young and old, oxen, sheep, donkeys, with the edge of the sword. But to the 2 men who had spied out the land, Joshua said, "Go into the prostitute's house and bring out from there the woman and all who belong to her, as you swore to her." So the young men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father and mother and brothers and all who belonged to her. And they brought all her relatives and put them outside the camp. Rahab, she's a Gentile who had faith in a God she had never met. She just heard things. She heard about this God who miraculously allowed the Israelites to come across the Red Sea on dry ground after somehow God had defeated the largest and most powerful nation in the world, the Egyptians. She heard stories about this nation that traveled in the wilderness for all these years, and God fed them miraculously with manna, quail, even provided water. Rahab heard these stories, and just hearing the stories, somehow God penetrated her heart, and she's going, there's a God behind all this. You know, we all worship a God, but our gods don't do things like that. And so she protects these guys and promises to protect them. And because of that, they promise to protect her and her family. And lo and behold, I just invite you to read Matthew chapter 1, just a little bit down that genealogy, and you're going to find that Rahab, this Gentile, is in the very lineage of Jesus. This woman right here is going to be in the lineage of Jesus, the Son of God, the Messiah. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough words to try to make that make sense or to grasp the significance. How many of us think God can't use us? That we're just useless, or we're just this or that or the other, or we're too broken or whatever. This was a woman who would have been destroyed with the rest of the nation. There goes the toy. Knock it off. There goes the toy. There goes this woman who had every reason to just be a nobody. And because of her faith, God makes her a somebody. Yikes. They burned the city with fire and everything in it. Only the silver and gold and the vessels of bronze and of iron they put into the treasury of the house of the Lord. But Rahab the prostitute and her father's house. So remember, all of that's going to get melted down and all of that's going to end up in the treasury. So now they're amassing wealth. Now the nation of Israel is amassing wealth. And that wealth is going to allow them to get things, buy things, as well as end up making articles of gold and silver for the tabernacle and for the temple. But let's go on. But Rahab the prostitute and her father's household and all who belonged to her, Joshua saved alive. And she has lived in Israel to the day that this is being written, because she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. Joshua laid out an oath on them at that time, saying, "Cursed before the Lord be the man who rises up and rebuilds the city of Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn shall he lay its foundations. At the cost of his youngest son shall he set up its gates." Verse 27. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame was in the land. His fame was in the land. The Lord was with Joshua. Didn't he promise? He promised Joshua just like he promised Moses, "I will be with you. And wherever you go, I go. And I'm going to go before you. And I'm going to strike fear into nations that you have yet to know and to see." They're going to hear about you, and they're going to hear about what is happening, and they're going to hear about me. And now his fame begins to spread. All right. Steve takes us into Joshua chapter 7 tomorrow. They're going to go battle AI. I won't get into that one. I'll let Steve do that. But we end chapter 6 thinking that everything's just fine, right? They went around 6 times. They were obedient. They went around 7 times on the 7th day. They were obedient. They blew their trumpets and everything. They were obedient. They were obedient to Rahab. And everything seems to be fine. But it's not. Because sometimes things look right on the outside, but there's something wrong on the inside. Something hidden. We'll get to that next week. All right. I'll leave it at that. Let's see who else came on board here at the end. I think I mentioned Bert Reggiani. Good morning, Ken Gooch. Yes, I did. Connie. Good morning, Maisie and Momo. Yes, I do have both dogs. Insanity. My wife set it up. It was on my calendar, so I know that she created the appointment. So while the kids are on vacation, I've got both dogs, and I forgot to put away the squeaky toy. All right, I think that's it. Let's leave it at that. I'll be back at 8:40. Blessings on your day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.